Welcome to the 2023 Launching Leaders Asia Pacific Conference, and my name is Wendy Huang, and I am the Mandarin Launching Leader Coordinator. I will be your host today. This conference is available in Mandarin as well as in English. To hear the conference in Mandarin, click on the interpretation icon on your toolbar. If you have any issues, please use the chat function to let us know, and someone will help you. This meeting is being recorded. We ask that you stay muted and use the chat function to communicate. We would like to acknowledge any of our board members that are attending, members from our partner organizations, and other organizations that we are affiliated with that are here with us today. Welcome. I would like to share a brief report with you from this year. Every year, we continue to see growth in how many people hear and participate in Launching Leaders. This year, we have had a total of 2,399 participants from our English, Portuguese, Mandarin, and French courses. We have had 57 English groups in 16 countries this year, with an additional 65 groups from our Portuguese, Mandarin, and French courses. Our website is our main source of generating leads with word of mouth second. We have had participants from 46 countries this year participate in Launching Leaders. We're excited to expand to 9 new countries this year. And we are very grateful for our wonderful partners and have enjoyed collaborating with many of them this year. Our founders are amazing and continue to give back in many ways. It is important to us that we stay connected to our Launching Leader community and show that we continue to care. Thank you. Allow me to introduce our first keynote speaker, Dean Curtis. Dean Curtis is a philanthropist and co-founder of Interweave Solutions. Interweave Solutions Success Ambassadors worldwide train the Master of Business Industry, which is MBS, and counseling industry wellness courses. The Success Ambassador that then offer follow-up with the 3 C's of entrepreneurial growth: content knowledge, contacts, networking, and capital access. Finding money for micro business growth. Interweave has over 65,000 MBS graduates in 74 countries with nearly 2,500 success ambassadors. It offers Launching Leaders to all success ambassadors. Dean Curtis has lived overseas in Mexico and Argentina. He speaks fluent Spanish and has traveled extensively implementing programs to help necessity entrepreneurs in the informal economy with the MBS and wellness program. Prior to Interweave, Dean Curtis was the CEO and founder of Curtis and Associate Inc. With over 500 employees and major contracts in 14 states. Curtis and Associate Inc. helped employ thousands of people find work and lead government welfare roles. Dean Curtis was an assistant professor at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, and he completed his PhD coursework at University of Nebraska-Lincoln and is the author of Charity with a Bottom Line, Business with a Heart, and Giving Can Hurt. I'll now turn the time over to Dean.
Well, thank you, Wendy, and good afternoon, good morning. I'm Dean Curtis, co-founder of Interweave Solutions. It's a pleasure to be with a group of people who are leaders or who are training to be leaders. I am also a Launching Leaders graduate, and I think we can all make a difference in the world. We need to give people a positive influence and help people achieve their goals. Now, Rosaline asked me if I would talk about mentors. When I was younger, I took a workshop kind of like this on how to get a mentor. And they explained ways that I could talk to identify a person who could be a mentor, and then taught us how to approach that person so that they could be a formal mentor to us. And I need to confess that I didn't follow up on that training. I never chose a formal mentor. I never approached them to ask them for the time and then followed up on their advice. But don't get me wrong, I think that is a good approach and can work great, and I commend it to you. However, when they asked me to talk about mentors, I was hesitant because I hadn't done it that way. But then I remembered a discussion that we had in our Launching Leaders class. Rosaline said that sometimes mentors can be people who have influenced you by their books or their ideas or their examples. And as I started to think about it, I realized I have had mentors all of my life that have influenced it and guided me. And so I hope today that each of us can identify and choose our mentors so that we can be guided throughout our lives. So so I want to give you an outline of the presentation, and I'm going to be negative for just a minute. I kind of don't want us to be dumb. By that, I don't want us to be directionless, where we don't have any paths or goals or roads to follow. I don't want us to have no user guide rails or life guide rails so that we follow a passion without having any moral guidelines that save us from danger. I want us to have motivation so that when time gets tough or hard, we don't just give up. And please, let's have a sense of belief that we can honestly believe that we're worthy to succeed, that just because we might not have a formal education or we don't have a lot of money or we grew up on the wrong side of town, that we can't succeed. No, we want to have those strengths. And so to not be dumb, we need to have mentors, because mentors give direction, mentors give user guide rails, mentors give motivation, and mentors help us to lead and to believe. And so, first of all, what is a mentor? You know, I looked it up in the internet, and it describes a mentor as an experienced and a trusted advisor. So let me start by asking you a real important question. Who do you trust? For some of us, it might be parents, it might be good books, it might be friends or organizations. But we're going to discuss how trusted people and organizations are an important part of becoming mentors so that we don't make the mistake of being dumb. So first of all, mentors do provide direction. Now, I've chosen parents here to give an example of direction. Even if we don't think of our parents necessarily as mentors, they provide a huge impact in the direction that we will live. Take college or university attendance as an example. According to a study by researchers from the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, in the American Academy of Pediatrics, it says, if parents believe their children will go to college, it's nearly a foregone conclusion that they will go to college. The researchers determined that when it comes to attending college and academic accomplishment, parents' attitudes about college and their expectations not only influence, but serve as a strong predictor of student success. And then it gave this example. Of the children with the lowest test scores, only 57% of their parents expected them to go to college. But the children with the highest test scores, 96% of their parents expected them to go to college. In other words, if your parents are giving you or giving us direction, we will often respond. Now, does parents' expectation or direction make us smart? Why do the students with the highest scores almost all have the expectation from their parents to go to college? It's not because they're smarter, but it's because their parents gave them a direction and an expectation that people they respect will help them and they can go to college. Now, there's two types of people listening to this presentation right now. Those who had parents that gave them direction and those who did not. But either way, one important takeaway is that one of the greatest leadership opportunities that we will ever have is to be a parent and a mentor to our children. We'll give them direction. We'll give them expectations. We will be their mentors. Now, as an adult, do we have direction? We don't get them necessarily from our parents as adults. Now we need to decide how we will live and pick our own directions. So we look for examples, people in the community or friends that are living in the direction that we want to live and to go. Mentors help us choose those directions. So please get some people in mind who are living the way you want to live. They can be directional mentors. Second, mentors provide user guidelines or user guide rails, life guide rails. Now, I'm going to get a little personal here. I put here a picture of a church leader in my faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is Russell M. Nelson. He's 99 years old, and he's an active leader of a worldwide church. He provides several guide rails for me. First of all, he was a very successful surgeon, and he was enjoying his career, and yet he gave it up to serve for his church. Although he loved that career, he loved his God and his family more. He made a guide rail that said, career never replaces God and family. Am I willing to keep my career path in balance with my family and with my religious commitments? I will if I can use him as a mentor. Second, at 99 years old, he's still serving. And as I get older, am I willing to keep serving? Or can I just retire and quit trying to give back? He's showing me that some guidelines or guide rails that how I can live my later life. And I will keep serving if I follow him as a mentor. Third, he represents a lifestyle that I committed to when I chose to follow this faith. I committed to not smoke or drink or use illegal drugs, to try to live a Christian life. And he is someone that followed those same guidelines in his life, and he's been successful. So it helps me follow those guidelines if I use him as a mentor. Now, I've never talked to him directly. However, he is a mentor or an example that gives me guidelines or guide rails in my life that help me succeed. So each one of us try to find someone who we respect and who we can attempt to be like, who can give us a mentor that will give us guide rails or guidelines that will protect us. Can you identify who has a balanced life in the way that you want to live? He or she can be your guide rail mentor. Third, mentors provide motivation. Now, this is a picture of some of the books I've read over the years. I've been reading an average of a book every other month for about the past 30 years. These authors have many have become my mentors for motivation. I don't agree with their lifestyles sometimes. Sometimes I don't agree with their life decisions, but I am motivated by many of their ideas. One is, for example, Zig Ziglar. He was a public speaker that talks about motivation. And I've listened to almost all of his tapes. I've read his books. I've even attended several of his speaking engagements. He provided motivation to me. He gets me excited about ideas and possibilities. One of his ideas is to have a gratitude wall, have a picture of people who have influenced us and remember them and be grateful for their influence in our lives. He is on my mental gratitude wall. Even though I've never met him personally, he is a mentor to me that provides motivation. And so who or what ideas motivate you? Be an active reader to look for mentors that inspire you and challenge you to do better. Launching Leaders is a good example of a good mentor organization for us all, so that we can rub shoulders with people that we want to be like. And finally, mentors help us believe. I believe we all need to feel like we're worthy to succeed. If we don't believe, for example, that we can learn in college, we probably won't go. If we don't believe that we can start a business, we probably won't try. If we don't believe we can change a habit of quitting smoking or drinking or whatever it might be, we'll never change. But a mentor helps us believe. Now, Jim Ritchie, who's one of the board members at Launching Leaders, talks about being a stuttering son of a chicken farmer. If he didn't at some time believe he could be a successful entrepreneur and a successful church leader, he would never have found his oil and become the successful person that he is. So when I was with friends that were going to college, I thought I could be there as well. If I attended church with others who are actually trying to be Christians or live what they're going to do, I can try as well. If I'm part of a group that teaches leadership, like Launching Leaders, and I work with leaders, then I can believe that I can also become a better leader. A mentor is sometimes that person that you're learning with, that you're sitting next to at church or at school, and you're working together on positive goals. They're examples of people just like us who are trying to live the same way we're trying to live. Now, be careful. Unfortunately, friends can also be negative mentors. They can tell us we can't change. They can tell us we don't belong, that we shouldn't have hope for the future, that we might not be good leaders. So please choose our friends wisely, because in a way they become our mentors. So, quite frankly, mentors are people, they're friends or leaders or ideas that give us direction, that give us user guidelines, that give us motivation, and give us belief. They're experienced and trusted advisors, sometimes parents, churches, organizational leaders, books, and ideas, and friends. They can all be mentors. So please identify people that you trust, follow their example, and identify your mentors. But also remember that we are also friends to somebody. We sit in a class at school or at church with somebody, and they are watching us. We share ideas with somebody. We also may be a parent. So let's make sure that we are good mentors. Let's seek for and be positive mentors. Don't be dumb. Get and find direction. Use guide rails, user guide rails. Be motivated and believe that you can succeed. Let's all be good mentors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dean, for your knowledge and experience on mentor. We have had many questions sent in that we would like to ask you. And thank you everyone that submitted a question for Dean. Due to time, we're not able to ask all the questions that were submitted, but we feel that the questions that were selected cover most topics asked for. And you're welcome to ask questions in the chat, and if we have time, we will ask them. And the very first question is there any difference between a mentor and a role model?
You know, that is a good question. I think a role model, we can pick a role model that will cover a part of our lives. For example, I might have a role model to a role model in church, for example, and they become a mentor in a way. I look at their words, I try to follow what they do, and I guess in that sense, a role model and a mentor are the same. I would think that sometimes we can go a little bit deeper on a mentor and really begin to ask them questions and communicate with them. But they are pretty close. In my life, role models have been my mentors.
Thank you for sharing that with us. The second question, what are the more effective ways to find mentors?
Again, an excellent question. I was just thinking, Jim Ritchie, in some ways, is my mentor. He is probably 10 years older than me. He also sold a business. And I found him by working in trying to help other people through Interweave. And he was trying to help people through launching leaders. And we rubbed shoulders and got to know each other. I think finding good mentors is when we go to places and try to interact in the direction we want to go, and then look for people in that area. So if you're involved in a church or an organization, begin to look for people who can perhaps guide you in that direction in the area or field that you're interested in. That's what I did with Jim Ritchie, and he's been a great example, role leader, a role model, and I've talked to him from a mentor position too.
I love Brother Richie too. Thank you. And the third question is, how do I engage a mentor that has a busy schedule?
You know, that's where I failed. I wish I could tell you that more. I was hesitant to engage them, meaning call them and say, hey, will you be my formal mentor? So I don't know if I can help you other than have the courage to call them and tell them that you appreciate what they do and ask them to be a mentor. I have been asked a few times to be a mentor formally, but then very rarely do they follow up with what they want. I'll say, yes, I can be okay, I'll help you. What do you want? Please be careful that what you might want is money or contacts, that you really want to get his or her advice. I have had people that talk to me as if they want to be a mentor, but sooner or later they'll ask me for a donation or to have them be part of the organization. I felt like they were using me as a mentor. So if you do approach someone, I think just have the courage to approach them, ask them very specific questions, try to follow up on their advice, and listen to them and try to apply their advice.
Thank you. The fourth question, can Chat GPT or YouTube videos be mentors?
You know, all of us are learning what AI is going to apply for our lives. You know, if you think about the remarks I just gave, Chat GPT probably will not give you user guide rails or moral principles in your life. They may, but I think you'll need to be careful. However, I'll bet Chat and AI will be able to give us some good ideas, some motivation if we put the right words in to get them out. So I think I wouldn't put all of your eggs in that Chat GPT basket, but yes, we can get some ideas and some motivation, part of the mentor from that.
Thank you. The fifth question, how can younger people who like text work with older mentors who prefer in-person, video, or phone calls?
How can they connect with them? Is that?
Yeah, the younger people who like text work in the text message,
Right.
with older mentor who prefer in-person, video, or phone calls.
I would say if you want, I hate to say this, but if you're approaching the older person, then plan on using face-to-face or videos. They're not going to use the text. I know I've had several times, I'm just not comfortable on, you know, they'll say, hey, well, just let's connect. It took me a long time, for example, with WhatsApp. WhatsApp's really big in South America. It's big, I think, all over the world except the United States. And if you talk to the average person here in the United States that's not involved with what we're doing, they don't have a WhatsApp number or contact. And so if you said, hey, yeah, call me and let's talk on WhatsApp, I'd say, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think older people like me, we're slowly learning our technology, but please, younger people, adapt. Help us help us learn. You be our mentors with technology, but be ready to try just good old face-to-face as well.
Thank you. The sixth question, how do you start an engaging discussion with your mentor?
You know, first of all, don't make sure you have mentors, even if you have not engaged in them. Have mentors that that you're using as role models or examples. But the actual engagement, you know, there might be, I'm sure there are others that can give better advice, but I would think once you choose the mentor, just have the courage to make the contact with them and be honest and straight up with them. Say, hi, I know your work. I have followed what you've done. Could I have 10 minutes of your time? I would like to be your mentor. Can we talk? And I think just have the courage to do that once we get that 10 minutes. And then if they give any advice, do everything we can to follow up and let them know that we followed up and thank them.
Thank you. Next question. How do you increase trust in your mentor and work hard to do what your mentor suggests?
Well, you know, the second part of that question answers the first part. Work hard to do what that mentor suggests. We have to be careful. A mentor can say something and he or she is not our life. We get to live our life. And they might say something that does not apply to us. I remember one statement that said, to be successful, you have to be willing to do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Then I started applying that in my head. Okay, to get a contract, I've got to be willing to do things that people who don't get a contract are willing to do. But then I also said, yes, but to be successful in my family, I've got to do things that unsuccessful people in their families are not willing to do. And pretty soon that began to help me keep a balance. If I listen to just one mentor completely, I might lose my guide rails, my moral principles. So listen to them, try to apply the principles, do the best we can, but then ultimately we're living our own lives. And it might be that you'll need several mentors to guide you through that.
Thank you. The next question, is there an effective frequency for mentoring to really impact change on a mentee?
That's from the mentor's perspective. You know, I've thought about that mentor role in some of the positions I've had in church. I've had a responsibility where I would counsel people in our church. And I remember spending time with them, meeting with them each week and giving them goals. And they would come back the following week and didn't have the goals. One was trying to quit smoking, and he said, I just got to quit smoking. I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to follow up. I'll call you every night. And then I'll talk to you next Sunday. And the next Sunday, I had not called him. I called him once or twice. And so he came in and he said, Dean, I haven't quit smoking and it's your fault. And I said, it's my fault. Why? Because you didn't call me every night. So as a mentor, be careful not to take the monkey. Always in a mentor meeting, give them the final action step. Let them have they'll follow up and be careful that we don't take on too much. Be a mentor, but don't take the monkey or the problem on your back. Give it back to them.
Thank you. Next question. What inspired you to change lives through the Interweave Solutions program?
You know, that's kind of in some ways, it's a personal, a spiritual thing to me. My wife and I, we have 9 children, and we struggled quite a bit financially when we were working in college and school. I mean, we were still in school and we had like 6 kids, and it was tough. And then we started a business and things worked out really well. And I just remembered that. And so when I suddenly found myself successful selling the business and having money, I just wanted to give back. And then spiritually, I just knew that I needed to give back. It's silly to sit around and have a bunch of money without doing something with it, without helping people. And so it was a kind of a spiritual thing for me. I think, though, for everybody, they find their oil, and I think it's one of the principles there of launching leaders. The final one is give back, serve. It's an international, it's a inherent, we have to give back. There's no reason to accumulate wealth if we're not going to give back.
Thank you. The last question, what motivates you to keep pushing forward towards achieving your dream?
You know, dreams change. Earlier in life, my dream was, of course, to raise a good family, to have a business, to teach good college courses at first. Now, but I achieved some of those. The kids are all doing really well. They're all on their own now. The business went real well. And so the goals change. And I think one of them is asking the question, how can, that's in my later part of life, I'm asking the question, how can I give back? That is probably the single biggest one. It's not how do I make a bigger business? It's not it's how do I keep in touch with the grandkids? But it's now a new goal, and that is how do I give back? Whether the purpose of life is there, you know, how do I golf better? That's not it. How do I enjoy, you know, how do I spend money? That's not it. It's how to give back. And so each stage of our life, there are certain goals that we have. Focus on those goals, build a relationship with you, with your spouse, and with your God, and get that triangle together between you and your spouse and your conscious, your God, your divine direction, and that will give you, I believe that'll give you goals and motivation.
Thank you, Dean, for sharing your wisdom with us. Now we will have a 20-minute Q&A session. And thank you for sending in your question. Due to time, we're not able to ask all the questions that were sent in, but feel free to ask questions in the chat. And if we have time, we will ask them. These questions are for our keynote speakers and breakout session leaders to answer, as well as any of the key leadership of launching leaders that are presenting today. The first question, is launching leader growing worldwide?
I can tell you from my point of view, all of the launching leaders implementation I do are through the BYU Management Society, and the Management Society has chapters throughout the world. So to that extent, it is growing worldwide. And the other thing that we've started doing is we've created a chapter that covers all of Africa. We'll be creating a chapter that covers all of Asia and so on. And so in that way, we will doing our best efforts to spread this throughout the world through the Management Society.
Thank you, Chad. The second question, what is needed to start an institute or organization?
I think another way to say that is, how can people find out where their closest institute would be?
Okay.
Because it's all over the world.
Yes. Actually, in my organization that I represent today, the Institute of Religion, we have a website that you can check. It's ICL, the Church of Jesus Christ.org. So you can check out all the facilities all over the world, actually. And one thing is, if to start, maybe if I understand your question right, how can we start an institution or these launching leaders in our place and in our organization? We started small. We begin with our leaders as well, and try to work out with the other members of the organization. So we started with 15 key leaders in our organization, and then work it towards the end of the group. So that's how we started. We started with few people, and then trying to reach out more than 20,000 18 to 30-year-old young adults.
Thank you, Mark. The next question, would you share your experience in how to adjust your life plan in this fast changing world?
I'm a great believer that in everyone's life, they go through different phases. And in each phase, different things are important. And there are some things that are important all the way through your life. And so different phases in my life are, I went to school and decided what I wanted to focus on. Then I had to find a job. Then I started a family. Then I worked on my career. Then I retired. So as you go through different phases of your life, you have to say to yourself, what are 3 or 4 areas of my life in this phase that are really important to me and I want to do better? So just think about going through your life in different phases, and that's how you make the adjustments. For example, if someone said to me, are you going to make enough money to live on? I said, I don't worry about that right now because I've learned to live on not very much money. And I've learned to be frugal. And I've also learned to focus on a few things that are really important to me that don't cost money. So as we go through those different phases, it's very easy to adjust the 3 or 4 areas of your life you want to make better.
And Wendy, let me add to chat as well. So every single year, the beginning of the year, I make goals for that year. But I also look at a 5-year horizon. So what do things look like 4 or 5 years out? And whoever asked the question is exactly right. We have a very fast changing world. And so you set short-term goals and long-term goals, and then they change every single year. You modify those based on the changing world. So Chet's right in that we have all kinds of different phases based on our age, but also you have to understand and reflect what's going on in the world. And you can do that on an annual basis.
Thank you so much, Terry and Chad. Our next question, I am interested in farming business. Would studying agriculture still be advisable at an advanced age?
I would say, well, yes, if you think people will continue to eat.
Our next question, what is the next big step for the Launching Leaders organization?
So not only are we looking, as Chet has pointed out, to do more worldwide, but we're looking at multiple different languages as well. So investing on other languages, we're looking at having other organizations involved. While we've spoken about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we have other faiths and other religions involved as well, because the precepts here in Launching Leaders are not faith dependent. We do believe in a higher creator and our Father in heaven. And so others who have looked at the course and are looking to change their lives for the better, those are the people that we're looking to replicate this to and get this throughout the world. Our whole vision is to be able to have as many people take this as they can throughout the world at very little or no cost to them. So those are some of the future things. Will there be other books and other information and instructions on entrepreneurialism? Yeah, I believe so. So those are some of the new things that are coming.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, now allow me to introduce our second keynote speaker, Carrie Atis. Carrie has been in the healthcare technology marketplace for over 40 years, where he has led, participated, or managed over 30 buy and sell transactions in the marketplace. Previously, he served as a managing director of Cornerstone, a healthcare merger and acquisition organization. Terry was a senior director of the National Blue Cross and Blue Shield organization in Chicago for several years. He also served as a CIO with a major healthcare provider organization, Banner Health, and was one of an 8-person leadership team that directed a billion-dollar HIT vendor. SMS, now Siemens, was now acquired by Cerner for several years. Terry was admitted into Coopers and Lybrand as a senior managing partner of the HIT practice for the United States, and has served as a CEO of his own healthcare information technology company, PCI Systems, Integrated Medical Networks, Park City Solutions, and Digital Bridge. Over the tenure of his career, he and his companies have received several entrepreneur awards. He graduated from New York State University with a bachelor degree in computer science. Terry and his wife of 42 years have 4 children and is the proud grandfather of 17. He has served 2 missions in
好的，为
Washington
你显示 Store。
and in New Zealand. He resides in the mountain of Utah and enjoys all kinds of outdoor sporting activities. I will now turn the time over to Terry.
Wendy, thank you so much. And before I start, let me just bring you the love and appreciation from the Board of Launching Leaders and all that you folks do. It's just amazing to see this happen, and we're just so pleased. I love to see your smiling faces. It just makes my heart feel so good. So we're going to talk about financial independence, but first, this is one of my loves. We should be ever learning and never stop. And never stop learning. You never stop your leadership. You never stop helping other people. And so 4 or 5 years ago, I used to sail on lakes in the United States. And I said, you know, I've never really sailed on the ocean. So at the young age of 70 years old, you know, I went to get my captain's license. And so we lived on this catamaran, a 45-foot catamaran, for 10 days. And they put us through all kinds of tests, both written and demonstration. You never stop learning. That's one of the premises of the formula, correct? So today, we're going to talk about self-reliance, financial independence. How do you do it? Some of the investments. And if we have some time, then I want to talk to you about one of my favorite subjects, and that's, are you a curious person? So, financial independence. There's a gentleman by the name of George S. Clason. George was an individual who authored a book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Fascinating book. It is pretty old. It was first published in 1926. You should read this book. There are several million copies that have been sold. It's 185 pages long. It's a very quick read, and it establishes the foundation and the baseline of finances and how you work with it. So to become financially self-reliant and independent, this book is fantastic. It is a collection of parables that George put together. Some of these parables are over 4,000 years old from ancient Babylon, yet these parables are still effective today. So the first thing, and there are 5 or 6 rules here I'm going to talk about. And Rosaline will send you this presentation, or we'll put it on our website so that you can have it. But many of you question about, how do you become financially independent? Well, you pay yourself first of that which is yours. We're going to discuss that. You identify, when I answered one of the questions, your short-term versus long-term financial goals. And you never stop looking at these every single day, week, month, quarterly. What are my financial goals and how am I doing against them? The biggest mistake that people have is they do not write them down. So when you have your goals, both short-term and long-term, you should write those down. Review them all the time. I never forget one year I drove my wife crazy. We set out, how much money do you spend every single month? And I said, and by the way, I've now been married 53 years, so that's an old bio. And so every single penny that we spent for a month, I had her write down. Drove her crazy. But that was really good because it had us review, where did all of our money go? How did we spend it? Are these things essential or not? Part of what you earn all the time is yours to keep. What does that preclude? You have to have a budget. And then part of the value of who you are and what you are is your learning. So I became a captain. I've done that in so many different markets, in so many different areas. And then probably the biggest key is, whoever your spouse is, you want to share your major financial decisions with them. And I've seen so many marriages kind of go down the tubes because only the guy knows and they really don't get to participate. Marriage is a partnership. And so you want to have good spouse support in all of your financial decisions. So we're going to talk about 3 different bank accounts. Now, for those of you that don't trust banks, or for those of you that hide your money in a mattress or keep it in a jar, you need 3 different segments here. The first one is a savings account or a savings jar for retirement. And we're going to talk about all 3 of these. The second one is a checking account, or account that you're going to use and budget every single month. And then the third one is a savings account used for you to actually expire and spend every single year. So what are these? Well, the first one, the retirement account, that's used to build your empire. We're going to talk about that. A percentage of this goes into that jar or that bank account every single month. Now, those of you that are students, those of you that are making a lot of money, you can say, how can I do this? And so even if it's a very small amount, you want to psychologically get in the habit of taking even a small pittance and putting it to build your empire. We're going to talk about that in a minute. It could be very, very little when you start out, but you always add to it every single month. This is part of you now paying yourself first. You don't cheat. You don't take the money out of this. This is what we call your forever account. And we're going to talk about what you do with these funds. It's used for future investments and new businesses. So if you invest in a brand new entrepreneurial business, or investments where you're helping other people or family to now do their businesses. That's what this account is used for. It is your money independence account. So you set this aside, you never touch it to spend for cars or your monthly basis. It stays in your account until when? And what is in this? We'll talk about that in a minute. So you can invest in things like real estate, bonds, stocks, cash, commodities, businesses, with one thing in mind, and that is this account is going to be used to make income producing capabilities for you. Out of this account, however small it is, you want to start building your empire so that it starts generating income and revenue for you on a monthly basis. Now let's talk about checking account. It is your operating account. It's the second one. You pay your budgeted items with it. So what things do you pay? Food, water, gas, cars, electricity. Those things are on this. You budget how much you're going to spend every single month. And at the end of the month, this account should be zero. You're not trying to accumulate any wealth out of this. All this is for your monthly operations. It zeroes out every single month. So it's things like philanthropies, which is tithing, bills, water, electric, rent, food, and other monthly obligations that you have. So when you do your budget, you're going to sit down and say, how much did these things cost me on a monthly basis? And you will put that amount of money in your checking account. No savings. This is not to accumulate any money. And at the end of the month, it should be zero. Now, the key is, Chet talked about this a little bit in his breakout, you want to be modest. It's the difference between wants and needs. So what are your needs? If you spend like crazy, then you're going to have very little money to put in your other two accounts. So you want to be modest here, and you'll see why. The third account is a savings account. And this is the difference between regular versus non-regular spending. So what are some of those things? It's wants versus needs. It's a wish list. It's periodic things that go out. What could be some of those things? Well, it's Christmas, it's birthdays, it's special occasions that you know you need or are going to come to you every single year or quarter. By having those things in this, when you're doing a birthday or a Christmas gift, that money is there already for you. You don't have to go try and find it because you've saved it. So what does all this mean? It means you have to do a budget. It means you have to live within your wants and needs. So your retirement account is for income. It pays for every single month your checking account. This is the definition of financial independence. You don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to be, quote unquote, really rich in terms of the world. If you are modest in what you're doing in your spending, then when you become financially independent is when the income in moderation, when the income comes out of your retirement fund and you have enough coming out every month to pay for your monthly budget, then you can claim yourself to be financially independent. So you want to work at this. Is this going to happen the first year? No. Is it going to happen the second year? Probably not. But by building this and not cheating with where this money is, you're building your income. And if you're modest in your spending and moderate in everything that you do, and this now equals what your accounts are on a monthly basis in your checking account, then you can claim to be financially independent. So I hope that helps you. What are some of the investments, that we can talk about? Well, there's a thing going on in the world called CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. And this is to do away with all financial hard cash in dollars. It is very dangerous. 100 countries are looking at it. The Bahamas already do it. There are some countries in Africa that do it. And what does this do? And why is it so dangerous? Because then the government, if it's all digital, can control and record every single thing that you're doing. Our president, Joe Biden, signed March 9th, 22 to investigate it for the US. July 1st, 23rd, a portion started towards this first step. And this first step was to be able to now transfer digitally money anywhere in the world. Blockchain and Bitcoin was the beginning of this. And because it became so successful, and if you've looked at blockchain and Ethereum and Bitcoin recently, it's been increased dramatically. And this was an opportunity to go around the banks and be able to send money, anywhere in the world without it being recorded through our banking system. Well, the United States didn't like that. So we are headed universally towards a central bank digital currency. It's very dangerous. It is a very controlling entity. The question is then, what do you do? And so you want to get some of your investments out of that investment account, what I call off the grid. There are things like precious metals, land, equipment, businesses, things that are not dependent on sending digital currency in transactions. So investments that way. Okay, so what do we want you to do? We want you to set up this week your personal accounts if you don't have them set up. Set up a retirement account, set up a checking account or jars or wherever you save your money, and a non-regular savings account by doing a budget. Take the money that you get on a monthly basis and now allocate them to each one of these three that we've already discussed. When you do it, your goal, your long-term goal should be to become financially independent. Why is that so important? If you're financially independent, you don't rely on anyone else. You have enough of your financials independently for you to go on. Some people don't work when they become financially independent. They do something else. They give back. They help other people. There's all kinds of other things that you can do with your life. So can you become financially independent without you being a millionaire or a herd of money? You absolutely can. This is a fascinating quote. Charles H. Duell in 1889 was the commissioner of the U.S. Patent Office. He's widely quoted as having stated that the Patent Office would soon shrink in size and eventually close. And that was because everything that had been invented was going to be invented in 1889. There's no new thing. Now, someone asked the question, what do you do in this changing world? Well, the internet's new. There's all kinds of social media that's now new. So he was absolutely wrong. Everything that can be invented has been invented. So he thought in 1890 they were going to close the U.S. Patent Office. Well, in 2020, there were almost 400,000 patents that were filed. In 22, 278,000 patents. So 7 years ago, a guy came to me, someone asked about entrepreneurialism and said, Terry, I have a guy that says that he can invent a home freeze dryer. I'd like you to help me write a contract to invent this. Well, we talked about the two guys that looked at this, and I said, this is a terrible idea. And the money that he's asking for, you can go and just dig a hole and throw it away because it's never going to work. When I was doing a mission in New Zealand, I went to Invercargill and looked at a freeze dryer. It was the size of a building. And so for people to invent a home freeze dryer, never going to work. Well, 7 years later, this has been one of the biggest successes in the United States. They built it, and 7 years ago, they now have patents on this and about 7 different sizes of machines. What's my point here? My point is that there is, I want to show you something here. There is a characteristic for each of you. What is this? This is a galaxy, and it's a spiral galaxy. So the spiral galaxy is 200 billion stars. It's our Milky Way. Earth is on the outer edge. Earth is about here, where my cursor is. So it takes 25,000 light years to get to the center from Earth, 25,000. And for you to get across our galaxy, it's 90,000 light years. Well, when I was serving a mission in Washington, D.C. for my church, in our ward, we had individuals that tracked satellites, all the satellites that go around the world. And he said, Elder Pitts, you ought to come down, bring the missionaries. We track all the satellites around the world, okay? He said, you should come down, we'll show you around the museum. So we went down. We were the only people in the museum. We asked the curator and said, what's the coolest thing you have here? He took us around and showed us this. And I said, okay, this is pretty cool. What is it? And he said, it is a point where the Hubble telescope pointed for 3 days in a row in a place in outer space where there was absolutely no light at all. None. 3 days later, this came back. Tens of thousands of other galaxies. It's called deep space. 12 billion light years away, 10,000 galaxies. Well, this gentleman, Alan Hubble, in the early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, discovered that we were in a galaxy. Prior to that, no one knew that we were in a galaxy. And now look at the different things we've had. Edwin Hubble, amazing man. He was the curator of at Kidd Peak in Arizona, and actually found that we were in the Milky Way galaxy. So why do I say this? I say this because you should be a curious person. A curious person is so important. You never stop learning. You never stop doing. You always read. You always go to learn. It's the only thing that we will take with us in the next life. And so I pride myself in reading. Right now, I've got 4 or 5 books that I'm reading. And so you always continue learning in everything that you do. I bring you the love and the thank you so much for all of you to be involved in Launching Leaders. Our only goal was to change lives. And I think we're doing that now worldwide. Thanks to all of you that now talk about Launching Leaders and how it's changed your life. I'll give you one concluding story. When we were in New Zealand, we had a gentleman come in when we were talking about launching leaders. And he said, Terry, I've heard about this program, Launching Leaders. I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I'd like to take it. Can I take it? And we said, sure. What do you do? And he goes, I'm a fork truck driver. So in a warehouse, I drive fork trucks. I went, all right. What's your long-term goal? And he goes, I want to be a ballet dancer. And I went, what? Fork truck driver, ballet dancer? That's impossible. I mean, can you really do that? And he said, that's my goal. And I've heard that your program helps to set goals and teach leadership, and I want to do this. And he said, okay. So he came into the program, took our program. 12 weeks later, he applied for the ballet in Auckland, New Zealand. Amazingly, he got in. Talk about a change of life from a fork truck driver to a ballet dancer. I can't think of probably more different kind of way of looking at life than this brother did. That's what we're about. You never give up. You never give up. Have you ever had, and I'm going to answer one of Wendy's questions, my entrepreneurial background. I've had 5 of my own companies. I've been in billion-dollar organizations, and I don't say that to be egotistical about it. I say it because I love to work, working hard. That's one of the steps in the formula as well. You don't get there. Things are not just handed to you. You have to work hard in this life. You have to get as much education. And when you do, what's the 6th step in the formula? You give back. That's what we do. All of us on the board of Launching Leaders, we've never taken a dollar out of the company, and we contribute to Launching Leaders every single year out of our hard-earned money as well. We love it. We love the program. I love to see your faces. I love to see your smiles. I love to hear your stories. We all do, to see your lives change for the better. I'm done. I'll take questions, Wendy, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you for your knowledge on financial fitness. And we have had many questions sent in that we would like to ask you. And thank you everyone that submitted a question for Terry. But due to the time, we're not able to ask all the questions that were submitted, but we feel all the questions that were selected cover most topics asked. And please feel free to ask questions in the chat. And if we have more time, we will ask them. The first question for Terry is, how can I get financially fit for our present economy?
Boy, that is a really good question. With inflation that's now gone up, prices of food and gas and all kinds of things, it is stressful. And you really have to budget yourself and understand your earning capacity and the things that you can do if you have to, because you can't make ends meet, to change your life patterns. And this inflation will pass at some time, or get as much education as you can. That doesn't mean you have to go to college. It means, who was it? Dean said he loves to read. I love to read. What can you do to further your vocation, your education, the things that you can do so that you're more marketable as well? But it's tough. There's not an easy answer here. So education, hard work, and looking at opportunities to raise your capabilities.
Thank you. Our second question is, what is the most important actions or financial principles that those in poverty can do in times of high inflation?
Really difficult, isn't it? And it's really kind of the answer that I just got done. It still comes back to education, hard work, and then looking at opportunities. You never put away your opportunities. What are things that you can do, maybe to add to what you're already doing or to change what you're doing? It is very difficult. We have poverty here in the United States as well. And it's very difficult for people to kind of manage through that. But you never give in. You never give up. Those are opportunities that you have to keep your eyes over. Be a curious person of the things that are going on around you. So I think those are the best things you can do.
Hey, thank you. Our third question is, what is the best way to save finances as young adults?
When you're young, you think you're immortal. You think nothing's ever going to bother you. And many times you don't put away money for longer term goals. This is where you take those three accounts, you put money into a retirement fund, and you start stocking that away so that as years pass, you have that capability now to draw on for other investments. Who knows when a business opportunity may come, and instead of a new car, you get a used one. You don't have to buy everything that's brand new. So it is here being modest in your spending and ensuring that you can make ends meet.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, starting and maintaining a business in my country is hard. Is there any advice I can have to help me maintain my business?
Well, I'm not sure where the question came from, what country, but the United States, it's very difficult as well. Here again, it is getting your education to know and understand what do you have to do to start a business. And you may at some point just throw up your hands and go, this is too hard. This is crazy. There's so many certifications. There's so many thresholds and things I have to jump over. Do not let that discourage you. What you need to do is learn and understand what it takes to start a business, and then jump over those things, even if it takes you years. If you have a good idea, like I just showed you with the freeze dryer, they could have easily said, you know what, Terry's right, it's never going to work. We're not going to do this. And now it's a $100 million plus business a year. They never gave up. They thought they had a good idea. But you have to do the research. Who are your competitors? How much money is it going to take to start? All of that has to be very defined planning. So don't give up. Teach yourself what it is, and is it the right business for you to do? I think the other thing is passion. If you have passion for what it is you want to do, then that overcomes so many other difficulties, because it's the love of your life for you to spend hours and hours. I sell, so I'm a managing partner of a mergers and acquisition firm. So many CEOs and people who've made their businesses, they love it. They have the passion for what they're doing. And it doesn't matter what vocation it is, teacher, new business, whatever it is you're doing, if you have passion for it, that's going to see you through.
Thank you so much. Our next question, how to bounce back from loss of net worth after a business failure?
So people look at guys like me and they go, wow, yeah, so it's easy for you because you've never had a failure. Not true. Not true at all. If you think that you're going to skate through life, unless you're Elon Musk or someone like that, and not have a failure, you're wrong. We all have disappointments. We all have failures. The true test of the character of the individual is when you have a failure, what do? Do you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and go, okay? In my companies, I had one bankruptcy. In that company, I learned more through that failure than all the rest of my successes. And I've been very successful in my career, thank goodness. But I worked hard at it and I taught myself. But those failures, you have to stop, look back and say, what did I do? What can I learn from this? And Dean talked about mentors. I'll never forget being in New Zealand, and we had the largest funeral home operator in the country. We had him come in and make a talk, and he gets up and he goes, finally, I now get to talk about money and failures. And he said, I've had mine as well. If you think that you can go through life and not have a failure, you are dead wrong. The character of the person is dependent on what you do when you have a failure. How do you pick yourself up? How do you go on next? You know, you seek your religious Father in heaven and you go, okay, I blew it. And so what do I do next? And so, you know, you look at those failures as a learning experience.
Thank you. Our last question is, what is the number one financial mistake people make?
Spending too much money. They spend too much money of needs versus wants. That's a difficult thing, is to sit down and go, okay, how much money do I need to spend to live my lifestyle? Can I make it? If I can't, then you need to adjust yourself. And then what are my sources of income? Is that going to meet my needs? And if not, what do I have to do to change? Is it more education? Is it taking a second job? Is it being a curious person and learning a new skill? All of us, I don't care who you are, all of us has the same capability as me. I was very fortunate when I was 32 years old to sell a business for many millions of dollars, but I worked very hard at it. And so every single one of you are no different than I am. And I will guarantee you that's the case. It is your attitude. You know, we have a saying in Launching Leaders too, and that is your attitude defines your altitude. Let me say that again. Your attitude defines your altitude. So I have a business partner that's been with me for 30 years. And when I talk to him and I go, you know, we all do this, a salutation, we go, Scott, how you doing? He goes, Terry, I am super fantastic. I'm super fantastic. When people ask me, Terry, how you doing? I'm going, I'm wonderful. I'm just wonderful. What it does is change the attitude of each of you. If you ask me, Terry, how are you doing? I'm going, I'm just wonderful. What are your thoughts? Wow, this guy, you know, positive attitude. Even if I'm having a crummy day, my attitude is, I'm just wonderful. I'll get over it. And so, can you have a bad day? Sure, we all do. But your attitude defines your altitude. So, mistake people make is they get down on themselves, they spend too much money, they don't understand, you know, mathematics of how much am I taking in, what can I spend, what can I save. It's all a mathematical equation.
Thank you, Terry. I need to work on that, especially during the Christmas season. Thank you so much for today, and especially sharing your wisdom and experiences with us. And we have come to the end of our conference, and we would like to thank Dean and Terry for being our keynote speakers. We would like to thank our breakout session leaders for their preparation and time. We also would like to thank our amazing interpreters, Janet and Jessica. We hope that this conference has benefited you in some way, and we're very grateful for your continued participation in Launching Leader. May you be blessed for your efforts. Thank you for attending, and we hope to see you all soon. Goodbye.